Welcome to another RWBY fanfiction. We're back with another one by Kyle Wagner, and this time it's called Sit Semper Mecum, which I did try to look up what it meant beforehand, but I failed to realize that the apparent translation is in the description. So, Blake, a biological engineer, is working on her most recent project, which she deemed Project Sun Dragon. She wishes to make a whole new person and further the knowledge of the human body and aura, but someone isn't too happy about it. If you're wondering, the title is Latin for Be With Me Always. So, yeah, I didn't need to look it up. It was right there. Anyways, got 6 parts and it's completed, and hopefully I don't take too long reading it. Let's get going. So, wow. Origins. 22 years ago. The wind swirled gently over the fields, subtle enough as to not bother anyone, but prominent enough that it swept along the treetops. The wind blew a girl's hair into her face, which she dare not fix. The stray hairs landed upon the girl's tear marks, sticking in place as if it were as if fixed by glue. A woman approached her, placing arm around the young girl. Both had jet black hair. The girl began to weep more, leaning against her mother's chest for comfort. Mom, why did she have to die? I don't know, sweetie. I don't know. That's a good start. This is also definitely one of the weirdest stories I've ever read. Present day. You know what you're doing is borderline illegal, right? Emphasis on borderline. 2 women sat behind a stained white desk, staring at an amorphous blob. It was hooked up to numerous wires and tubes, red liquid flowing through the blob, causing it to expand and contract rhythmically. Blake, you just made a human heart. Isn't that creating life? The woman on the left asked. She brushed her crimson hair from her face, studying the new heart closely with her shining silver eyes. Technically, no. I started with a number of cells which underwent mitosis by themselves. I just molded them and gave them function. This is why I'm a bioengineer and you're the intern. RWBY, Blake teased, jabbing the red-haired woman in the side with a test tube. Hey, lab rule number 1 from high school. No horseplay in the lab, RWBY pouted. But I'm not a horse faunus, I'm a cat faunus, Blake laughed. Anyways, has the package shown up yet? No, sadly. How necessary are these neurons anyways? If you're so sure you're not creating life, then why grow every single organ system? Cancer doesn't discriminate, Blake replied, the same line she always told anyone who asked, if you had brain cancer, would you only want funding for epithelial cancer? What now? Skin cancer, usually. I thought you passed AP Biology with flying colors. Blake, it's midnight. I get a free pass, RWBY chuckled. Well, I'm gonna head home. You want to ride, or are you gonna stay here again tonight? I think I'll have another all-nighter ahead of me. Can you turn on the coffee maker on your way out? Way ahead of you, RWBY cheered, the familiar whirring of the gears of life turning. Blake had called a vote to name the coffee pot as it was just as crucial to the workplace as she was. And it came down to Gears of Life and James. Blake personally believed that if it were to have a human name, Sean would have been more appropriate. Oh my god. She waited for the sound of the lock turning before releasing her breath. She double-checked the door, making sure nobody was waiting nearby, and released a sigh of relief. She was alone. She scooted her chair back, pushing away from the pulsating heart on the desk. It had to be left on at all times, or the cells were at risk of dying from lack of oxygen. She grabbed a quick cup of coffee and shuffled over to her office with a yawn. How many all-nighters had it been in a row? 3? 4? She wasn't getting any closer to finishing her project. She pushed the door open, letting it close by herself as she stared at the whiteboard in the back corner. The words Project Sun Dragon were emblazoned along the top in fiery yellow print. Flaming hearts encompassed the title on either side. Why did I choose something so hard to do? I could have just used the heart to keep my license, Blake said, setting the coffee on her desk. So far, Project Sun Dragon's a bust. She knew it wasn't entirely true, as she had the whole thing planned out. She was ready to assemble her creation at any moment, with the slightest problem of there being no neurons anywhere. This is getting interesting. Neko. I don't know what that means. And I can't, look it up right now. Okay. Blake jumped at a large pounding sound, peeking out of the office toward the front door. A blond man stood there wearing a loose hanging white jacket. Blake smiled and walked over to the door, opening it with a laugh. Son, you work for a delivery company? The man at the door looked startled and a bit offended. He was carrying a manila-colored parcel with his tail, eating noodles out of a takeout container with his free hands. What do you mean by that? I can hold a steady job. How about you not telling me you worked in such a successful company? I have, numerous times. I think you were drunk 3 of them and flirting with Ruby the other time. Okay, then. Blake chuckled, pulling the parcel from Son's tail. How many times do I have to tell you she's not interested? How do you know if that goofball John from high school can end up with someone like Pyranikos, I have a chance with anyone? Wait, John Ark is dating the Pyranikos as in the fashion model? Oh boy, this is getting weird. He had no idea who she was. He was lost in the mall one day and asked her for directions. She gave him a paper with the directions and her phone number. No lie. You're kidding me. Talk about a success story. They both erupted in laughter, causing Son to choke on his noodles, which elicited a second round. Anyways, why are you here so late? Didn't Ruby go home already? It's my 4th all-nighter in a row. This project my boss has me working on is tougher than it looks. Blake sighed, holding out the package. This is the last piece I need, though. Ooh, can I see? I'm sure it's not highly dangerous or illegal, right? Son joked, looking at Blake's worried visage. Wait, it's a biological bomb, isn't it? Son, do you even know what's in here? Blake scoffed. It's neurons, as in brain cells. Oh, no wonder my boss said to make sure it was unharmed in any way, shape, or form. Glad I listened to him for once. Go home, son, Blake laughed. I should be able to make some good work tonight. Maybe tomorrow night I'll take the group out for drinks. Blake, how much do you make in a year? You never let us pay for drinks. About 300,000. Why do you ask? Thump. Son? Oh, okay. Sorry. Woo! 3 hours later, Blake's office. Oh. Blake rubbed her eyes, reading these scribbles on her whiteboard one last time. She had quadruple checked the calculations with Moogle, her college notes, and her present research. She was finally ready to make her creation. Schnee Biolab's headquarters, same time. Miss Belladonna still hasn't given us any insight into what her project is, but it's does $15,000? The woman asked, her shrill voice piercing the conference room. How do you know she isn't scamming us? She has sent us pictures of her research, Miss Schnee. I've told you multiple times. It isn't much to go off of, but by reviewing her work, it's obvious she's close to a breakthrough. I'm going to see for myself. How's my schedule for Wednesday? Miss Schnee, you're busy for the next week. You have no openings at all. Why do I even bother? I'm going to see her at 6 tomorrow morning. What exactly is this project called again? Sun Dragon? Yes, ma'am, and I have the translations ready for you. It appears that Blake took Chinese in college, and Sun Dragon translates to Xiao Long, the name of her childhood friend. And the Xiaolong girl died in a car accident when she was 7. Meaning that they're 29 right now. As in the 22 years earlier from the beginning of the story. Anyways, 5:47 a.m., Schnee Biolab's room 57, Blake's office. One more graft and we should be finished. Blake sighed, taking another swig of her coffee. She turned to see the body on the operating table next to her, a whole new person, made from cells she had grown herself minus the neurons. She gazed at the woman's face, peaceful in her unconsciousness. Blake had rigged every single organ in this body to work exactly as it would normally, the only problem being the hair. Hair follicles were far too small to be accurately assembled, so she settled with artificial hair that could never grow. If the woman wanted cut, there would be plenty to cut off as the hair fell down past her waist. Blake carefully placed a small section of skin onto the woman's shoulder, careful not to peek under the blanket she placed over the body. She would be a real, living woman in only a few minutes. She wanted to make sure she wasn't embarrassed. Oh boy. Lightning struck outside as rain pattered the windows, which is, yeah, way to put this. Oh, okay, I'll just wait. I think she says it. Lightning struck outside as rain battered the windows. Blake slowly clothed the woman, careful not to rip the recent graft she had made, nor interfere with the parts and wires placed on the woman's body. These would jumpstart the heart, rushing blood to her brain, which would begin operating as if it had naturally grown and learned from birth. Blake walked over to a small cart, which leaked with cables and sealant. Lightning struck again as she flipped the switch. What a cliche, she chuckled, seeing the body jolt with electricity. What I was going to say earlier is like, way to make like a Frankenstein reference right there, but whatever. Okay, the woman's eyes shot open, yawning immediately. Blake was taken aback at this sudden action. She had expected the woman to take a few minutes to get used to being alive, but it seems her aura research was coming in handy. Hello, Yang, Blake said, a tear falling from her eye. How are you feeling? Who are you? Why am I hooked up to all these wires? The woman asked. Am I Yang? Yes, your name is Yang Xiaolong. We're best friends. Blake was visibly crying now, a smile plastered on her face. My name's Blake, if you don't remember. You can take off the pads if you like. Where am I? This doesn't look familiar. Is this your house? Yang asked, looking around, pausing at the heart on a table. Why is there a beating heart there? I'm a biological engineer. I made it myself. It's to study cancer research. Blake replied, let's just see how educated this brain I made is. If aura truly works along with the brain, she should know it. There can be heart cancer? I never knew that. You're a really cool gal, Yang smiled, poking at the heart tenderly. It's kind of gross. Oh boy. The door slammed open, startling both Blake and Yang. Blake, what was that? Blake, who is that? The white-haired woman yelled, pointing at Yang. I could ask you the same thing, Yang replied, furrowing her eyebrows. I'm Yang Xiaolong. Who do you think you are, yelling at my friend? The woman's eyes widened, staring at Yang intensely. Blake, you don't mean you... Weiss, I can't explain. Could you step into my office? All my research and blueprints are in there, Blake sued, gesturing to the door beside her. It's not what you think. Did you harvest the aura from the girl? The one who died when you were 7? Where'd you get the aura? Weiss yelled. Don't you know using aura without consent is highly illegal and punishable to life in prison? I used my own, damn it. Blake shot back. I split my aura in half and linked it to her. Weiss froze, glancing between Blake and Yang. You mean to tell me you took aura from a living being? That isn't possible. Why do you think I've been in my office for 5 days straight? I haven't been having tea and crumpets with RWBY. I've been working hard to figure out how aura works, and I found some government documents which I bought access with most of the research grants, about $10,000. The other 5 were used on petri dishes and cleaning products. How did you afford the rest of it? Weiss stammered. You mean to tell me you paid for it yourself? Precisely. The two women looked at each other for what seemed to Yang like forever before Weiss chuckled. You sure are a loose cannon. This is still highly illegal, but I'm not about to put you through that after your aura transfusion. I'll leave you two be. Weiss strode out of the room, the clacking of her heels trailing in the distance. Blake? The black-haired woman turned to the blonde. who looked at her expectantly. What did she mean by the girl who died when you were 7? Blake sighed, sitting down next to Yang. I'll tell you everything, but you have to promise to keep it a secret, my little sun dragon. Oh my goodness. Love life. 3 years later. Wait, so you met on a cruise the weekend after you finished your project? Son asked, hiccuping. Yes, son, for the 4th time. You need to stop being drunk when you ask these things. You need to stop buying us drinks, son laughed. Right, Ruby? Speak for yourself. I don't drink. Oh, boy. The table was filled with familiar faces, all yelling over the loud bar music to tell jokes or compliment each other. Blake and Yang sat next to each other, their new rings reflecting the strobe lights off of their left ring fingers. Son was attempting to balance a spoon on his nose, while Ruby did it effortlessly, and the world-famous Pierre Nikos was asleep on Jean's shoulder. I just realized 4 people at this table are married, but only 2 marriages in total. How weird is that, son chuckled, taking another sip of his drink. Bah, but what do I know? I can't get a date for the life of me. I've asked my buddy Neptune, but he claims he was set up with Weiss from a friend. Guilty as charged, Blake chuckled, batting her eyebrows. Oh, you have got to be kidding me. Jean is the most sought-after woman alive. Neptune and Weiss are a perfect match, and you literally have your dream girl. What is this, son cried, dropping his head on the table. Relax. I'm sure you'll find someone sooner or later. I know I did, Blake smiled, holding Yang's hand. Sure, it was weird making a new person and marrying them 3 years later, but Yang was the one who proposed after all. Weiss had covered for Blake completely, installing a fake birth certificate and fake citizenship with her connections, making Yang a real citizen of Vale. She did expect some payment, however, which Blake was still waiting on. Whatever that payment would be, Blake was sure it would be worth it. And that is Sit Semper Mecum. Oh, yeah. It's pretty ridiculous, pretty insane. And yeah, there's a lot going on, but it is still a really good story. And it's why I like Kyle Wagner so much, because he's really good at writing these stories, because it's probably one of the, like, because I've seen a lot of like the alternate universe type stories where the characters meet at different times or they have completely different situations to them, like the Diner Dash from a couple ago, or Airplanes. I mean, I don't like Airplanes, but that's a different story. Anyways, I think we're done. Next time we come back, we won't have a Kyle Wagner story, although we will have some more interesting stuff, and maybe not, complete just Bumblebee overload. Sorry about that.